we are constantly living in two cultures. We're never motherland enough and we're never American enough. There's something to be said about living in the gray area and accepting every part of you isn't enough. But all of those gray parts make you yourself, and especially that cultural background. It's such an asset because you get immigrant experience and you get the American experience. You really get to shape your culture, you get to shape policy, and you get to shape your community. So really value that as an immigrant or as a first gen, because we get to see the world in a really unique way.
Welcome to Identity Unveiled. IU is a platform that supports advancement of Asian American women to the executive ranks. We highlight amazing stories of Asian American women becoming the first in their industry or breaking barriers as executives and leaders.
Asian American women in politics have been making significant strides in recent years, contributing to the increasing diversity in U.S. politics. There are currently Asian American women showcasing their growing representation at the national and state levels. Additionally, Asian American women are making their mark as district directors, with approximately 15% of congressional district director positions held by women of Asian descent. However, despite these advances, Asian American women remain underrepresented, accounting for just 2.5% of the 535 members of Congress, highlighting the need for continued efforts to achieve equal representation.
Well, today in this episode, we are featuring Nicole Fernandez. She's the current district director for the California State Senator Josh Becker. She is the first AAPI Chair of the San Mateo County Democratic Party. She's now running for San Mateo City Council, District 2.
Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so much for having me here, Shweta and Diane. Really excited about it.
Well, I know that you are running for City Council, so congratulations on your run.
Thank you.
Now, just going back a bit into your childhood and your background and upbringing, you grew up in Belmont as a daughter of Pakistani immigrants. You were the first to go to college in your family.
Yes.
Tell us briefly about your childhood and your upbringing.
My parents gave us the best childhood. They chose to live in the Bay Area, which is just the best part of America, in my opinion. They were coming here, as so many immigrants do, searching for a better life, one where they could have children and support them and give them the best of everything that they didn't have growing up. So my parents are two amazing high school educated immigrants, and they were able to put together a wonderful family and buy a home in San Mateo County, which really raised me and sort of gave me my values about relying on community, bootstrapping, trying hard, making sure that you go to bed at the end of the day knowing you tried as hard as you could. Being the child of Pakistani immigrants, I was able to both be American and Pakistani American. That hyphen is really important to me because we bring so much of our API, Asian American, South Asian culture, but we translate it into the American dream. And my parents were able to really thrive here. And that's why I love this community so much. Willing to run for office because this is the toughest thing I've ever done, but I love this community enough because it gave me so much.
Did you always know that you wanted to have a career in politics?
Not at all. As a fellow South Asian woman, you know that our parents probably had 3 options for our careers, which are engineer, lawyer, doctor. And so when I told my parents, I really found my calling during the 2000 Bush versus Gore election when I was a high school senior. I was able to really see how policy and voting and voter engagement can really change the course of how people live their lives, how it affects everyday people. And I realized that the quote, if you don't have a seat at the table, you are what's for dinner. And so I realized I needed to be able to bring myself and bring our community to the table and represent the values that needed to be represented.
You know, you are a district director at the California State Senate as well as running for City Council. What is a day in a life like for you, Nicole?
The great thing about my job as a state Senate district director is that it is never the same day twice. And it is also, that's the great thing about city politics as well, is that you really have a smorgasbord of things that you can be doing. Advocacy, bureaucratic paperwork, writing speeches, writing commendation, connecting with the community in different ways at events or coffee meetings, making sure that the community knows what the senator is doing while the senator knows what the community is prioritizing when he's in the Capitol making policy. So the great thing about the job is that you really get to create your own sense of responsibilities, communication. There's a lot of creativity, but if you are a bit of a control freak type A like me, it's a little difficult because you never know what's going to be coming to your desk in a given day.
And in 2018, you became the first AAPI woman chair of the San Mateo County. How did that happen? I'm curious. What's the story?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I've been involved with the Democratic Party here in San Mateo County since I graduated from college in about 2005, 2006, I'd worked for different politicians. And one of the ways that we engage the community is making sure that we know what's going on in the partisan world, in the party and the party politics. In 2018, I was very lucky in order to become first AAPI chair of the San Mateo County Democratic Party. I believe also the first South Asian Desi chair of the party. That was because I really believe in the values of the party and what we do, especially when it comes to the national and federal government. I feel like the values that I want to reflect are within the Democratic Party. Taking the reins of a party during going into the major election of 2020, I took over in 2018, but I was still the chair during the 2020 campaign. You really get to sort of dictate how the party gets involved in the community, how we promote our presidential candidates and our endorsed candidates. And I have enough connections in the community to know how to make that messaging effective. And so it was really one of the highlights of my career in volunteer service to do that.
You grow up as a South Asian woman, and you've had firsts as a South Asian woman. I'm curious about how has your cultural background, being a South Asian woman, influenced your approach to how you lead and to public service?
The first thing is that as an API woman, what really comes out in this space is how often I am the only person in this space representing either API or Desi identity. That said, I think that it's really important to note that the AAPI community in politics is not a monolith, right? We don't all believe in the Democratic Party. We don't all believe in the Republican Party. We don't all believe in immigration. I mean, wherever you are, we are as individual as the ethnicities and backgrounds that we come from. And I think that it's really important that AAPI community is made up of dozens different backgrounds, each with their own experiences and obstacles and challenges. And we need to find that big umbrella in order to reflect the diversity of the AAPI community. I am a child of immigrants. I had to see my parents work really hard every day, my grandparents, aunts and uncles adjust to life in this country. And that gives you a really great sense of what you can do and what you can accomplish in an amazing country like America. It's not perfect, but it is certainly the country that made me what I am. I love my country enough to keep trying to make it a better place for everyone, including the AAPI community.
You mentioned, though, before, it certainly was a tough decision to go into politics, given that being Pakistani, there's an expectation that, you become the doctor, the lawyer. So how has that perspective impacted the way that you lead?
I'd like to think that my leadership style is inclusive and collaborative. Coming from being a woman of color, we help build systems, but I don't think that the systems were built for us to lead those systems. So we're very often a part of the discussion, but very rarely are we leading the discussion. And that I think needs to change, especially coming as a woman of color, and an AAPI woman. But that said, I think that it is really important to boost up the other people. So when I became chair of the San Mateo County Democratic Party, I was the youngest and probably one of the brownest in recent years. And it was really important to me to lift up other people into positions of leadership where I could help. So committee chairships and executive board members, and just extending the invitation to folks who wouldn't otherwise see themselves in the Democratic Party. So it's really important to me to lift up those other voices, even if they're different from mine, even if they're more conservative than mine, even if they don't necessarily reflect 100% of the values that I have. I think it's really important that folks have a seat at the table. Like with politics, right? The quote is that when you're voting for somebody, you're not looking for the Tesla of your dreams. You're looking for the bus that comes every 15 minutes. It's going to get you closer to the destination you have in mind. And I truly believe that if you can find someone that embodies what you're looking for and maybe has about a good 85% of your values in common, and you know that they can make a good decision in your best interest, I think it's worth voting for them.
I almost feel like that's maybe your secret sauce to having
I hope so. I'm just trying to build cohesion wherever I go.
Oh, go ahead,
Nicole, I want to talk about, I think we jumped right into it, but really your background is incredible. So how many years have you been in politics now? And I have
I'm going to actually celebrate 20 years next year in 2025. I graduated college in 2005 and immediately transitioned into working for a state legislator, as a California state assembly person. My current position is actually the fourth state senator that I've worked for. So I've had 20 years off, and I've been a public servant all of my career, but I worked for 4 different politicians at the state level. Something that I've really refined in the city council campaign is, one, you are worth the effort. Sometimes women especially don't feel that they have the credentials for the job promotion or putting themselves on the ballot for running for office or for asking for the pay raise, whatever the case may be, and know that you are worth the hassle. If you are bringing your energy and your expertise, you are worth asking for more. You are always worth more. That's one of the big things for me. The other thing is listening to everybody. The other great thing that I found in the city council campaign is that I'm talking to people who otherwise would not want to sit down with me, would not feel invested in me, maybe don't even like my policies. But because they have access to a candidate who wants to sit down with them and sticks out the olive branch and says, just have coffee with me and let's just talk about the city we love. We all love our city. We just love it in different ways. One of the great things is just being able to sit down with lots of folks and learn their perspective on the city. So it's know that you're worth the effort. Make sure you are your biggest fan. And the other thing is listen and sit down with everybody. You win nothing by isolating yourself or siloing yourself.
I want to shift a little bit to your candidacy and run for city council. As voters come to the polls, what's the single most pressing issue that you feel most strongly about that you want them to remember?
This is the first time that San Mateo, or the second time that my area is going to be districted. So I'm actually trying to run for a couple of neighborhoods in my community. And it so happens the District 2 where I'm running, we are one of the most under-resourced communities in San Mateo. So it's really the bread and butter issues that I want to see. I've lived there for 12 years. My roots are strong in that community. It's really important to me, having lived there, having been a homeowner there for the last decade. Infrastructure and traffic is really important. It's really sort of the bread and butter issues. It's making sure that our students can walk to school safe. There is enough lighting on the streets when our service workers get home at 11 or 12 o'clock, making sure that there's enough parking, making sure there's enough safety, police, making sure that we have a city that our amazing residents deserve, that we have a city administration and we have city services that our amazing residents deserve. So for me, it's really about sort of the bread and butter, very traditional, boring, unsexy city issues. I just want to get back to basics.
Why are you running? What made you want to run?
As we've talked about, I've been involved in public service my whole career. I've worked for multiple politicians. I have been a commissioner in the city of San Mateo. I have a lot of experience at different levels of government. And I really think that we need somebody who elected into the spot that has a history of actually bringing experience and bringing results and knows how government works. And I check all of those boxes. And I think that I'm the best person for this job.
Well, your election is coming up pretty soon here in about a little over a few months. What do you hope to achieve long term?
By honestly, I just want District 2, which is the city I'm running for, to be better after my service than when I was elected. I just want it to be a better, safer, more vibrant community. If I've been able to make that if I can make that, if any residents would come to me and say, Nicole, I really appreciate your service, and these are the things you did to make my quality of life and for the quality of life for my kids better, I would have felt like I'd won the lottery. I just want to make sure that folks know immigrants and first gen kids. I mean, you already know this, but we are constantly living in two cultures. We're constantly it always feels like we're never motherland enough and we're never American enough. At least that's what I feel sometimes. And I think, at least for me, and what I've been thinking about this a lot, I actually went to Pakistan for the first time as an adult last year. I never felt that I was either or enough. And there's something to be said about living in the gray area and accepting every part of you that maybe quote unquote isn't enough to somebody else, but all of those gray parts make you yourself. Sort of the colors that have come together to make you you, and especially that cultural background. It's such an asset because you get immigrant experience and you get the American experience. And there's really something to be said about the whole generation of new Americans who are in this country who are living that. And you really get to shape your culture, you get to shape policy, and you get to shape your community. So really value that as an immigrant or as a first gen, because we have some really cool experiences under our belt and we get to see the world in a really unique way.
Very beautifully said. Thank you, Nicole. I don't have any more questions, Diane. I think that, Nicole, you speak so eloquently and really wishing you the very best on your campaign.
Thank you so much, Feta, and thank you so much, Diane. I really appreciate the opportunity.